Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be discussing from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text number 8 to 10. Sorry. Text 8. So this is the conversation between Sudha Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. It says, Dharma sunishtita pumsam vishwaksena katha suyam notpadaya yade ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much less labor if they do not provoke action for the message of personality of God. So here we are discussing about the occupational duties. So there are different occupational activities in terms of different conceptions of life for everyone. So for people, for example, who don't have any knowledge or understanding about spiritual life or spirituality, or people who are more or less atheistic, who do not believe that there's soul, there is God or any karma, for them, this body is actually everything. And upkeep of the body, giving pleasure to the body is everything. So therefore, their duties are very much concentrated to their own selfish enjoyment, physical or bodily enjoyment, and sometimes extended selfishness in the form of enjoyment for their family or their society or their community, nation, or even humanity. But they still identify themselves with the body, and bodiness is of prime importance. Therefore, they actually work very hard to create more and more facilities for themselves and for their people whom they may recognize as family, society, etc. So, but the goal is how to actually create more and more facility for sense enjoyment. So, so they have certain occupational duties. Their occupational duty is how to satisfy the body and bodily demands or bodily pleasures. And beyond these, what do you call, people who are more or less atheistic, there are mental speculators. They are a little better than these grossly ignorant people. Their occupational duty mostly involves uh, writing philosophical literature, writing poetry, and propagate some form of Prabhupada isms like humanitarianism or nationalism or so many different kinds of isms people can come up with. That is nothing but uh, extended selfishness, which has only limitation of considering the happiness or pleasure of the body, either their own or the others. But these mental speculator can go up to the level of mind. So they think of the satisfying the mind of people. But Bhagavatam is explaining that above the body and mind is the spirit soul, as Krishna also confirms in Bhagavad Gita. Indriyani parani ahu, indriye vyaparamana, manatastu bara buddhi, yo buddhe paratastu sa. Indriyani parani ahu. The indriyas or senses are superior to the body. You see, the body has all the different limbs, the different parts of the body. But among the body, there are 5 senses which are very crucial or important. Everyone works for those, enjoyment of those 5 senses. So, Indrani Paranyahu, Indriye Paramana, but mind is superior to even the senses. And intelligence is superior to the mind, but soul is superior to all of them. So the source of consciousness in the body is actually the spirit soul. Less intelligent people, they have no information of the soul, therefore they have no information about the needs of the soul. Prabhupada gives one times example about the parrot in a cage. One lady, she brings a golden cage and puts the parrot inside. And every day she's very carefully cleaning because the cage is made of gold. So she's every day polishing, cleaning the cage. And after a few days, she sees the parrot is dead. She starts crying, oh, my parrot is dead, my parrot is dead. Somebody asked her, why the parrot died? She said, I don't know, I was cleaning the cage every day. I kept the cage, beautiful for the parrot. Somebody asked her, okay, you clean the cage, that's all right, but did you feed the parrot? Feed the parrot? Was I supposed to do that also? So, if you don't feed the parrot, naturally the parrot is going to die, no matter how nicely you upkeep the cage. So similarly, people in this world, they have no knowledge about the soul, and therefore they continue to struggle for finding the satisfaction of the body, thinking the body to be the self. But the bodily demands or needs cannot satisfy the soul. So, without knowing the needs of the soul, one cannot be happy. No matter how much one may try to satisfy the body and mind. So, body and mind are but just outer coverings for the soul. Soul's needs must be fulfilled. That is what is being referred in this verse. Not pare yadimrati shrama evahi. A person does not develop the inclination to hear and chant Krishna's glories, then his whole life and endeavors in life, they are only shrama, useless labor. Go to now then, needs of the spirit soul is to get out of this limited sphere of material existence and experience the complete freedom or liberty. That is what soul is seeking. Soul doesn't like to be bound by the limited sphere. That's what we see. No, all the technological advancement is mainly geared towards I want to have liberty. I want to have independence. I see the moon in the nights. I want to go to the moon. So therefore, let me create some mechanical arrangement. I see the sun planet appears to be very hard. Is there a way I can enter into the sun planet by some mechanical arrangement and having some way of tolerating the heat? No. So the soul doesn't like to have any restrictions, want to experience complete liberty. And that liberty is achieved when the spirit soul is in union with the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Because soul by nature is spiritual, but the soul is having a material body in this world. Therefore, the material body, since it is limited, the soul experiences limitation because the soul is attached to this body. So, and of course, when the soul is attached to the body has its occupational duties. One has in the occupational duties. But the purpose of all those occupational duties is to somehow or other evoke or evoke the Krishna consciousness or divine consciousness in the living. In order to attain that divine consciousness, the process is actually very simple. The process is to simply hear and chant Krishna's glories. Simply by hearing and chanting Krishna's glories, one can attain the liberty one is seeking for. And on the other hand, any occupational duty which does not help one to achieve this goal of developing hearing and chanting Krishna's glories, that occupational duty is referred here as Shrama eva hi keval. It's just useless waste of time. So this is actually the sum and substance of this verse. The soul is hankering for complete liberty, which is to be found in union with Krishna. And that union can be achieved by devotional service. When a person engages in pure devotional service, eventually one can actually attain the spiritual world. One can actually attain the goal of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Text 9. Dharmasya hi apavargasya nathorthaya upakalpati nathasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smrita. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So here, the positive and negative assertion both are given in this verse about the ultimate goal of human life. So it says that pure devotional service to the Lord is automatically followed by perfect knowledge and detachment from material. We discussed last week also. You know, when a person engages in devotional service of Krishna, one automatically develops knowledge and wisdom. One can automatically develop the knowledge and detachment, which are considered very important factors. Vasudevi Bhagavati, in Vasudevi Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cheda Hetukam. Says that when a person performs devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, the are the natural consequences. One develops wisdom or knowledge and also develops real existence. The general tendency of human beings is that one wants to gain some material profit in exchange of performing some religious duties. Whatever a person does in this world, the goal is to get something in return. Like, you have heard, तुम एक पैसा दोगे वो 10 लाख देगा. The song also like that. If you give 1 paisa to me, God will give you 10 lakh. So people generally have that mentality. They want to gain something in exchange of their religious as well as occupational duties. So all the religious performance in the Vedic literature are also generally coupled with such kind of allurements. If you do this, you will get this in return. If you, perform this vrata, you will get this benefit. So all these allurements are there in the Vedas also, simply to inspire a person to sincerely perform religious duties. Because material gain are very dear to the living entities, therefore such material gains are given as the allurement. Just like sometimes parents, they want to feed the child some medication and the child doesn't want to eat medicine. So the parents say, okay, here, if you eat this, take this medicine, I'll give you ice cream. So therefore, the child is actually, inspired to take the medication. Sometimes, the medication is mixed with the ice cream and given to the child. The child is thinking he's eating medication, but he's actually having medicine. So material gains are very crucial for sense gratification. But if a person tries to get material gain without following dharma, that material gain will become the cause of unlimited troubles and miseries for the person. That is very crucial lesson. This is actually a statement in Ramayana by Lord Ramchandra. Lord Ramchandra says, when a person gets the material gains by unfair means, then people in general will become inimical toward that person. And when a person tries to get sense gratification without dharma, then that leads the pathway to hellish condition of life for the person. So Shuddha Goswami is explaining here that one should not engage himself in any sort of occupational service for material gain. Kamo, labho, jiva se tattva jigyasa, not to use the purpose of human life is tattva jigyasa, not the material gain. Kama, or getting some desire fulfilled, is not the goal of one's austerities. We can go to text 10. Now, this is actually one of the very important verses from Bhagavatam. Kamasyanendriya priti nabho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa natho yascheha karmabhi. Life's desire should never be directed towards self-gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So, tamasya na indriya priti. The purpose of human life is not indriya priti. Tamasya na indriya priti, labho jiveta yamata. That's not the real labha for the human form of life. Then what is the labha? Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Tattva jigyasa means inquiry about self-realization. Now, in the modern society, they are very much, misdirected towards self-gratification, fulfillment of desires and self-gratification. And Prabhupada says, in such civilization, in all spheres of life, the ultimate end is self-gratification only. So the goal of everyone's life is self-gratification in the material world. You take politics. Why politicians are so, eager, showing out that they want to do some service? Because the goal is they want their own self-gratification. And therefore they promise all their voters or people who are choosing them to vote them, to give them, so that they can actually provide self-gratification. Similarly, social services, tourism, philanthropy, or even in religious circles, the same principle of sense gratification is very much predominant. Everyone is actually more or less working for sense gratification. Even the so-called, spiritual sects, you see, they also talk about selfishness in the form of liberation or salvation. Because the desire to get salvation or liberation from the material existence is also nothing but another form of sense gratification. In the political fields, the leader of different societies, to fulfill their personal sense gratification, they are not interested in people's welfare. This party or that, your condition is same. Because people who actually generally come in power in politics, they are mainly interested in their own fortune or their own sense gratification. So the voters, the people who are actually giving votes, they adore such people because they promise them sense gratification. Nobody can win the election by promising, I will help you to become liberated from cycle of birth and death. Just imagine, any president or prime minister of country says, I will make arrangement for everyone to understand the goal of life and go back home, back to Godhead. You won't get any votes. You'll never get chosen. But they always promise, I'll give 1 million rupees to everyone in the bank account. And people are, oh, that is good promise. Or I will, remove all the foreign nationals from the country so that our country people can have better prospects for jobs. Oh, this is good promise. So such promises only make a person uh, get attracted to such leaders. And in fact, even people who are on the path of some spirituality, some form of spirituality, they also have aim that they ultimately want to make solution to all their miseries in the form of attaining salvation. And in fact, Mayavadis, their aim is to become one with God. That's another form of self-verification. Because uh, spiritual suicide or trying to attain a state where one does not have any physical body. Because Mayavadi concept is body means troublesome. No body means no trouble. But that is not the case in the case of people who are genuinely trying to become Krishna conscious. The genuine spiritualist never ever feel worried about uh, their own trouble. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwade Bhavatad Bhakti Rahet Kito. Oh my dear Lord, birth after birth. He doesn't say, I want liberation, I don't want to take birth again. He says, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwade, birth after birth, I need only one thing. That is, Bhavatad Bhakti Rahet Kito. So Srimad Bhagavatam says that one should not live for sense verification. Jiva se tattva jigyasa. The purpose of life should be tattva jigyasa and should not be sense verification. Because the body is, made of senses, which also requires certain amount of satisfaction. So therefore, there are directions in the scripture for regulated sense enjoyment. So we understand we have senses, but these senses have demands. My tongue is always seeking some satisfaction. So therefore, I have to eat something, some nice palatable food. Or my eyes want to look at something beautiful. My ears want to hear something that is pleasing to me. So therefore, there is a regulated sense gratification. In every section of society, there is a regulated sense gratification which is given in the form of do's and don'ts. Just like, for example, the one wants to enjoy sex life. So there is, restriction. Marriage life is actually a restriction. It's not a license. It's a restriction. One should not engage freely in sex life. Therefore, there is a constitution of marriage in any civilized human society. But in the absence of the voluntary restraint, was a so-called propaganda of family planning. Because people don't want to abstain from sex life. They want to just do whenever they like to do. Therefore, there is a need of so-called nonsensical family planning, where they actually kill the children in the home. Family planning is automatically achieved when one executes the principles of Krishna consciousness. I remember many years ago, this is I think late 90s. I was living in Mumbai that time. There was a world conference. In the 90s, the AIDS was the big talk. So there was a world conference on AIDS. So big scientists and even politicians came from different countries. There were more than 500 scientists, doctors, politicians, and religious leaders who came to participate in that seminar to make a solution to AIDS, how we can solve the problem of AIDS. And from ISKCON, there was also invitation given to ISKCON. So from ISKCON, Bhakti Samit Maharaj went. So when it was his turn to speak, he actually told, we have a 100% solution for AIDS. And people were like, you know, fully attentive. Oh, we have a solution. Let's hear from him. What is the solution? And when he said, following the principle of brahmachari or self-restraint, that means a person does not freely engage in sex life. Only through the marriage tie one may have regulated sex life. And outside of marriage, no sex life. And where's the question of AIDS? And when people heard that, oh, this is not the solution. That means practically every politician, every so-called scientist or social worker or even religious leaders, they were not really looking for solution. They were making a show off that they are looking for solution, but they were not interested in solution. If they were, this is actually a short method of controlling or making a solution to AIDS. AIDS means illicit sex. So as simple as that. Now some people, argue that, oh no, AIDS also spreads because of, contact by transmitting the blood. But if you take the statistics, the people who get AIDS in that way is practically 0.0001%. Very small, insignificant amount of. Maximum people, 99.9999% people get to illicit sex. So actually speaking, the so-called leaders in all of society, they're not looking for solution. In fact, Prabhupada used to say, if the leaders of the society solution to the problem, then they'll be out of business. People will say, okay, why we need you then? Therefore, they actually keep creating the problems and propagate those problems. And then they promise we will solve these problems. But a person who is seeking sincerely the absolute truth, they never ever, get allured by indulgence into unrestricted sense enjoyment. Because a serious student who is actually seeking solution to the problems of life, namely birth, old age, disease, and death, will understand that the process of Krishna consciousness is actually the real solution to all the problems. And therefore, ultimate goal of everyone's life is to seek the absolute truth and engage into the service of absolute truth. So when a person is trying to understand who is absolute truth or who is Krishna, in other words, and trying to engage himself in the service of Krishna, that will make solution to all the problems of this world. So this is what is actually being explained through this particular. So I think with this we can stop here. If anyone has any questions, you can ask.
Prabhuji, I have a question. In the 8th verse, it's mentioned like Vishwakasen. So can you tell me more about the name? Like, about for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because in one of the book I read, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he has mentioned like Vaishnava devotion, that in general, like we worship Ganesha, Lord Ganesha, to remove the obstacles, but one should worship Vishwakasena and the four Kumaras. So just now, like in the text 8, when you read that, I remember that. Can you tell me? I never come across that Vishwakasena. So in what situations, like past time, like Supreme Lord is called Vishwakasena Prabhu?
So the word Vishwaksena is actually the name of one form of Lord Vishnu. In some of the South Indian temples, you will find there is a deity of Vishwaksena. Generally, in the Shiva Vaishnava temples, you will find sometimes the deity of Vishwaksena. Wherever you see Balaji temples, sometimes they keep the deity of Vishwaksena. So Vishwaksena means the Lord who is the leader of the entire universe. So Vishwaksena means the Lord who is the leader of all the living entities. So hearing about the activities of the leader of all the living beings, that is Krishna. That is the prime goal of human life. So actually, in order to remove the obstacles, we worship Narasimhadev or we worship Vishwaksena. And in general, the Gaudiya Vaishnava, they worship Lord Narasimhadev. Because interesting that Ganesh also is a devotee of Lord Narasimhadev. And it is said in Brahma Samhita that Pada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumba Vande Pranam Samaye Sakanadhikada Vignan Vihantam Adamasya Degatrayas Govindam. It says how Lord Ganesha assumes the power of actually removing the obstacles from everyone's life. Because Lord Ganesha, he always remembers and meditates upon the two lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev. And that is why he is known as Ganesha or Vigna Vinayak. Vignan Vihantum Alamasya Jagatrayas. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So he's Lord Vishnu himself, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Does Lord Kumaras worship? I mean, they get the worship of devotees, Prabhuji?
Who?
Kumaras, four Kumaras?
Yes, Satish Kumar is also worshipped by the Vaishnavas. Four Kumar is also worshipped by the Vaishnavas. But in general, the devotees worship Lord Narasimhadev to remove their obstacles.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Really.